Welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I wanted to talk about Phase 2, one of my favorite topics, because my wife and I matched for residency in Phase 2 as a couple, which the odds of that are astronomical. But anyway, it worked out. But I wanted to talk about my new audiobook that just came out. The book has been around for a year. But the audiobook, because of the timing, it came out like in April last year, and it was of no use to anybody. So I just kind of put it off actually doing the audiobook until this year, and now it's ready, and you can listen to that. If you would like to do a 3-paragraph review of Crushing the Phase 2 Pharmacy Residency Match, Proven Tactics to Earn a Clinical Pharmacist Training Position, you can contact me for an audiobook code. So you can contact me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com, and I can give you one of those. And I just ask that you listen to the book and you just give a review. I can't, if it's positive or negative, that's up to you. But I just ask that you take the time to do kind of 2 or 3 sentences in 3-paragraph form, because that's what the best reviews tend to work out to, kind of a beginning, middle, and end. But I have those, only 25 of those available. But if you'd like one of those codes, I can give one of those to you. But I wanted to talk about the Phase 2 and kind of how to get ready for it. The first thing you want to do is read my book or listen to it. And I made a Kindle Unlimited, so if you've got Kindle, you can just add on. It's $10 if you want to buy the book, and I don't even know what the audiobook is in terms of cost. I probably should have looked. Maybe it keeps saying 1 credit because I'm a member. It's $5. It's $4.86 for the audiobook. And what I wanted to do was talk a little bit about what's inside and how these kind of steps can help you. So if you go into any Kindle, you can always look at the contents. And the first thing I want to talk about is match day and then the 4-day weekend. My understanding is that when you have match day, you're going to get a list of all of the sites participating in Phase 2. And then you're going to have 4 days to get everything ready and turn it around. And you must... There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You must apply on the day that it opens, on the morning that it opens. In the book, you'll read about how sites will close or they just will start ignoring applications. When I say it is a flood of applications to these RPDs, it is a flood. And it is absolutely insane. No student certainly wants to be in Phase 2, but no program wants to be in Phase 2. And the misconception is that bad programs are in Phase 2. I assure you that is not the case. Cleveland Clinic, Maryland, California had a couple. There were phenomenal programs in Phase 2. And what happens is that when they do the interviews and all of this stuff, just like you have your kind of ranking and like, well, these are the ones that I would go to, they have the same thing and they have a cutoff and they know that Phase 2, the number of applicants per spot actually go up. And there are a lot of really good applicants that are going to be there in Phase 2. And then there are other, programs that maybe just mismatched and things like that. But there are a number of different things that you can do to maximize your chances in Phase 2. And I was just absolutely ecstatic for in tears ecstatic for the 4 students that I helped get into Phase 2 last year. It's like, because you've gone through the match rejection, but then to have, totally redeemed yourself with this Phase 2 thing. And then I have a story of Key Gales in there who matched with a top program at Indiana, it was incredible that position was open. academic medical center in phase 2. Same thing with Maryland. And, you're like, how are those there? And they're there because those programs, they absolutely did not in any way flex their standards. And they're like, look, we'd rather be in phase 2 than have our residents have a residency classmate that isn't on par with them. And so he ended up actually matching in phase 2 in PGY2, which is awesome. And then I talk a little bit about the book, What is Your Unicorn Job? Which is saying, when we go back to what residency really is, residency is an opportunity to have options. And so when you start your residency application journey and you're like, I applied to, 10 sites, 12 sites, 15 sites, 18 sites, whatever it was, and you've been rejected from most of them. And these could, in many ways, be paperwork mistakes with the letter of intent, the CV, and or the letters of recommendation or some combination of them. It in no way talks about your ability to get employment in what is one of the best employment markets ever. Our state happens, I believe, to be in Iowa is number 3 in the country as far as rebound from COVID. And whatever side of the political aisle you're on, our state has very, very intentionally just written laws saying that you have to have an in-person program. And I can only get work done at this rate because my kids are in school full time. And that's something that we've made a decision as a state. And it's just some agree and some don't. But what I wanted to say was, there are so many opportunities right now. And the issue is going to be if you can get out of your head that you have had some kind of loss. So in your application, you kind of have these dreams of PGY1 and PGY2, clinical pharmacists working at the top of their license. I just want to gag me with a spoon or whatever. I have a great job at a community college with a 2-mile commute. That is 2 miles. I love my job. I've been there for over a decade. I'm able to teach. I'm flexible enough to be able to do things like the podcast, write books, and things like that. But the most important thing is that, okay, honey, can you pick up the kids from school? Yeah, no problem. Hey, can you coach their soccer team for fall and spring? Yeah, no problem. Can you be the scorekeeper for their basketball game on Sunday? Yeah, no problem. That kind of flexibility is absolutely priceless. And yes, my daughters and I get into it, especially when they bicker and they fight amongst themselves. That is the one thing that drives me crazy. But the one thing they cannot say is that I am an absentee parent, that I prioritize work over their activities and being with them. They could never say that. It is kind of the joy of completing a PGY1 that you certainly get clinical options in a hospital, but the bigger issue you have has little to do with your training. It has more to do with your mindset, and especially your mindset around your loans. If you have federal loans, and my understanding is that it doesn't matter what job you get, from barista at Starbucks to clinical PGY 15 pharmacist. I know that doesn't exist. But they just kind of like, all right, well, you make what you make and you pay back what you can pay back. And yeah, that's over your head. And yeah, you're like, I overpaid for my degree and I could have done this or that. But it doesn't matter. Now, if you took out private loans, they're not paying me to say this, but I would talk to your financial pharmacist guys, because I wouldn't know what to do if I had taken private loans out to go to a school that may or may not gain accreditation. And there's a couple out there that you have to deal with private loan companies. Now, they have experience with those types of things. I won't go into that. So I remember hearing on a podcast, I didn't go to pharmacy school to be a chemistry teacher. And that's both true and not true for me. I didn't go to pharmacy school to be a chemistry teacher. But and the way he was saying it was, he was talking about kind of like the high school classroom. But I do teach introductory chemistry. I do teach pharmacology. But teaching chemistry and pharmacology allows me to help an underserved group at community colleges. We see a much more diverse group than you would at a four-year school. But the other thing is that it really is a flexible position where I get to, within the curriculum, but within the competencies that we have, I have a lot of flexibility in how I want to teach, what I'm going to do. I work with the group to make sure that, my class teaching doesn't interfere with my daughter's soccer or gymnastics or basketball or whatever it is. And I don't work weekends when it comes to that kind of work. I do work weekends because I enjoy the work I do with writing and things like that. So when it comes to phase 2, what I would do with phase 2 is take it as an opportunity to be like, okay, all right, so this residency thing might not happen. All right. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm going to get a job that has nothing to do with pharmacy. Okay. Well, you want to call some guys that are trying to immunize with cut hours at the same time their technicians call in and they have really high volume and have to meet certain metrics? Or do you want to talk to somebody who is working in a hospital who is burnt out on clinical work? Like it really is, being able to get past that thing that says, I have to do this thing to make myself happy. So anyway, I kind of got on the stump there. But if you want help from me, the first thing that you want to do is just read the book. Like if you got Kindle Unlimited, it's free. You've already got Kindle Unlimited. Just get the book, read it. It's an hour-long read. If you don't have the time to read it, spend the $5 or email me for a code, and I can give you a code to the audiobook, Crushing the Phase 2 Residency Match, Proven Tactics to Earn a Clinical Pharmacist Training Position. And you can listen to it on the way and just get an opinion. Okay, well, this is kind of where I stand and this is where I go. And then if you do want that one-on-one help with your letter of intent, if you want extra support with the interview, I remember Key Gales being very honest. And he's like, with his interviewer when he went into phase 2, and he's like, look, I just didn't interview well. And he talked about, this is what I did and this is what I should have done. And he was trying to kind of put a square peg in a round hole in that he was being very honest. Like he wanted to do ambulatory care, that was on his radar, but he wanted to be in a hospital with acute care, and it didn't really gel right. And he ended up doing a lot of ID, and that seemed to be something he was interested in. And so what he was, though, was the number one student at Drake that year for the PICOA. So he was clearly intelligent. He's a very smart liberal arts guy. I mean, he played piano for a long time and also another instrument. And he's just a really smart, easy to get along with guy. And so it's the kind of person that you're like, how did this guy not get a residency? And he was just very honest. Look, I just didn't interview well. And then he kind of learned from it, and then he interviewed very well and got a position in an academic medical center in phase 2, which is very possible, but also very difficult to do. So, if you kind of went in blind, like I'm just going to use the interview as a way to learn how to interview, maybe you do look at the Rockstar Residency interview prep course and have that option to email me your questions and things like that. Maybe you do go into the letter of intent makeover course and have me redo your letter of intent, because you find out that, oh my gosh, I did write a generic letter. I shouldn't have used the UCSF template and used so many sentences that were word for word. Because some sites take offense to it and some sites overlook it, and other sites just kind of like, okay, we'll pass. We've got a bunch of people. And then if you need help with the CV, I'm really good at grammar and syntax. If you're looking for somebody to like format your CV into this like beautiful thing, that's not really me. But if you want somebody who gives you great feedback about what's in the CV, what should be in the CV, and then getting everything polished, I can do that. Each of those courses is $95. And then if you really want that kind of help with the interview, I do one-on-one mentoring, but That's kind of a different price point, different thing, but that's like $300. So I just have a couple of people that I really want to do that with. So, but anyway, when it comes to phase 2, give me an email if you want to do a little review of my new book. I've got 25 of those codes. I'd be happy to send one to you, or just check it out on Kindle yourself. And if you do have the time, I'd certainly appreciate a review. And I assure you, there is no more niche book than phase 2 in the pharmacy residency match. So I wish you guys the best, and good luck.